Picture this exact moment. You are sitting in a car dealership, the salesperson slides a paper across the desk and the number at the top says $47,000. You feel a small wave of panic, but then they flip the page and point to a different number, $489 a month. Suddenly, the panic disappears and something that felt impossible 1 second ago now feels completely manageable, almost easy. You sign the papers, drive home in a brand new car, and tell yourself you made a smart, responsible decision because you stayed within your budget. But here is what nobody in that dealership told you, and what most financial advisors fail to say clearly enough. That $489 a month is not just a car payment. That number is a monthly fee you are paying to remain exactly where you are financially, not moving forward, not building anything, just paying to maintain the appearance of doing well while the real cost quietly compounds in the background. Here is the statement that might surprise you. Your car is not a purchase. Your car payment is a subscription to a financial identity that is costing you far more than the sticker price ever suggested. Every single month, that payment is not just taking money out of your account, it's taking years off your financial future. And the math behind that claim is so uncomfortable that most people choose not to look at it directly. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how a car payment becomes the single most destructive financial habit in the average American household, why the system is specifically designed to make that destruction feel like comfort, and what you can do starting this week to stop the bleeding and redirect that money into something that actually builds your life. There's a concept that explains almost everything about why so many people feel financially stuck despite earning decent incomes, and it's called the mobility tax. The mobility tax is not something you will find in any government document or tax code, but you are paying it every single month without realizing it. Here's the simplest way to understand it. Every dollar you spend to look like you are financially mobile is a dollar that prevents you from actually becoming financially mobile. The car you drive to signal that you are doing well is the very thing ensuring that you are not doing as well as you could be. Think about it across 3 layers. The first layer is the direct cost, the payment itself, the interest you are paying on top of it, and the insurance premium that goes up the moment you buy something newer and more expensive. When you finance a $47,000 car at 7% interest over 72 months, you do not pay $47,000. You pay closer to $57,000 by the time the loan is settled, and that gap, that $10,000 in interest, is pure financial loss with nothing to show for it. The second layer is the opportunity cost, and this is where the number gets genuinely disturbing. If instead of making a $489 monthly car payment, you invested that same amount into an index fund averaging 8% annual return, you would have roughly $358,000 after 30 years. That's not a typo. A car payment redirected over 30 years builds a retirement account that most people in this country will never reach. Every month you make that payment, you are choosing a depreciating machine over a compounding future. The third layer is behavioral, and this is the one nobody talks about. When you are carrying a large car payment, your entire financial psychology shifts. You become less willing to take career risks because you need that monthly income to cover fixed obligations. You become less able to absorb unexpected expenses because your budget is already stretched. You become more dependent on the paycheck that is already barely keeping you ahead of your commitments. The mobility tax is not just financial, it's psychological. It locks you in place while making you feel like you are moving. Here's where it gets interesting for you. A 2023 survey by Bankrate found that 35% of Americans who carry a car loan describe their monthly payment as a source of ongoing financial stress. Not a manageable expense, a source of stress. And yet the average new car payment in the United States has crossed $740 a month, the highest it has ever been in history. What most people never realize is that the moment you signed that loan, the dealership walked away and the payment became your problem entirely, your stress, your constraint, your limitation, while they counted the profit. Rule 1. Never let your car cost more than you can replace in 90 days. This is a thinking rule, and it changes everything about how you evaluate a vehicle purchase. Before you buy any car, ask yourself one specific question. If this car disappeared tomorrow, could you replace the money you spent on it within the next 90 days using your existing income and savings?
If the answer is no, the car is too expensive for your current financial position, regardless of what the monthly payment looks like. The psychology behind this rule is that it forces you to think in total cost rather than monthly cost. Dealerships are experts at collapsing a massive financial decision into a small, digestible monthly number because they know that human brains respond to monthly affordability, not total affordability. A $740 monthly payment feels survivable. A $53,000 financial commitment over 6 years feels like exactly what it is. Here is the number that puts this into focus. The average American saves approximately $600 a month. At that rate, replacing a $47,000 car would take over 6.5 years, not 90 days. That gap between what you can replace and what you are committing to is the exact size of the financial risk you are taking on every time you finance a vehicle you cannot truly afford. If you cannot replace the vehicle cost in 90 days, you are not buying a car. You are renting your lifestyle on a payment plan, and the price of that rental includes 6 years of interest, 6 years of restricted financial flexibility, and 6 years of psychological pressure that touches every other financial decision you make. This brings us to the rule that determines what you do with the money once you free it up. Rule 2. Treat your car as transportation, not as identity. This is the mindset shift that separates people who build wealth from people who perform wealth, and the difference in financial outcomes between these two groups is staggering by any measure. The car you drive is one of the most visible, socially legible purchases you will ever make, which is exactly why it is one of the most dangerous. The psychology is straightforward and worth naming directly. You are wired to seek social approval, and in most Western cultures, a newer and more expensive car is a broadly recognized signal of success. Car manufacturers know this, which is why they spend billions every year on advertising that sells not a vehicle, but an identity, freedom, status, competence, attractiveness. You are not buying steel and rubber, you are buying the feeling of being seen a certain way. The problem is that identity is an infinite expense. There is always a newer model, a higher trim level, a more impressive badge. The moment you allow your car to become a statement about who you are, you have handed control of a major financial decision to other people's opinions, and other people's opinions will always want more from you than your bank account can provide. Consider two people earning identical $75,000 salaries. Person A drives a 5-year-old $18,000 Honda Civic purchased with cash. Person B drives a new $48,000 BMW with a $680 monthly payment. Over 10 years, assuming person A invests the $680 monthly difference at 8% annual return, person A accumulates approximately $124,000 in investment assets, while person B accumulates 6 years of depreciation, a loan payoff, and then starts the cycle again with the next vehicle. The gap between them is not income, it is the decision about what a car is for. If you never make this shift, if you continue to see your car as a reflection of your identity rather than a tool that moves your body from one place to another, you will spend your entire earning life funding an image instead of building a foundation. But here is what makes this rule different for you. Once you genuinely internalize that your car is transportation, you do not feel deprived by driving something modest, you feel free. Rule 3. Follow the 10-4-10 rule on every vehicle purchase. Here is a system that gives you a concrete numerical framework for every vehicle decision you will ever make, and it removes emotion from the most emotionally manipulated purchase in consumer finance. The 10-4-10 rule states put down at least 10% as a down payment, finance for no longer than 4 years, and keep your total monthly car expenses, payment plus insurance plus fuel, below 10% of your monthly take-home pay. Each piece of this rule exists for a specific reason. The 10% down payment ensures you do not immediately go underwater on the loan, which happens to approximately 32% of car buyers in the first year of ownership as the vehicle depreciates faster than they pay down the principal. The 4-year financing limit forces you into a price range you can actually afford, because stretching to 72 or 84 months is the financial industry's way of selling you a car that is too expensive by making the payment look small. The 10% monthly income cap ensures transportation, a necessity, not an investment, does not crowd out savings, retirement contributions, or emergency fund building.
Here is what 10-4-10 looks like in practice for someone taking home $5,000 a month after taxes. Your total monthly car expenses should stay below $500. If your insurance runs $150 and fuel runs $100, your maximum car payment is $250 a month. At 4-year financing with 7% interest, $250 a month supports a loan of approximately $10,500. Add your 10% down payment of around $1,200 and you are looking at a $12,000 vehicle, a perfectly reliable used car that will transport you everywhere you need to go without costing you your financial future. If you ignore this rule and make the average American's choice of a $740 monthly payment on a $50,000 vehicle at $5,000 monthly income, you are allocating 14.8% of your take-home pay to a single depreciating asset before you pay rent, buy food, or save a single dollar. Every month that continues is a month where your financial ceiling drops slightly lower. Now, once you understand that, the next rule becomes obvious: what you actually do with the money you save. Rule 4. Automate the difference into an untouchable account the same day you eliminate or reduce your car payment. This is the system rule, and it is the one that determines whether the first 3 rules actually change your financial life or simply give you permission to spend more somewhere else. The human brain is remarkably creative at finding uses for money that is suddenly available, and if you pay off your car or downgrade to a cheaper vehicle and simply let the difference sit in your checking account, it will disappear into lifestyle inflation within 60 days with near statistical certainty. The mechanism is simple and must be set up immediately. On the same day you make your last car payment or the same day you downgrade your vehicle, you log into your bank and set up an automatic transfer that moves the equivalent of your former car payment directly into an investment account, a high-yield savings account, or a retirement fund. And you set that transfer to occur on the same day your paycheck arrives, before you have any psychological access to the money. This matters because of a phenomenon behavioral economists call payment parity. Your lifestyle has already adjusted to functioning on your current take-home minus your car payment. You have been living on that reduced number for years, which means you do not actually need the extra money to maintain your current standard of living. The moment you eliminate the car payment, that money feels like found money, and found money is the most dangerous kind because you do not treat it with the same care as earned money. The data supports automation as the most effective financial behavior change available to ordinary people. A study from Harvard Business School found that automatic savings programs increase long-term savings rates by an average of 81% compared to programs that require active decisions. You do not need more discipline, you need fewer decisions. If you let the money stay accessible, the statistics say you will spend it. If you automate it away on the same day the obligation disappears, the statistics say it will compound quietly in the background for the next 2 or 3 decades and become something significant. Rule 5. Define your wealth before you define your vehicle. This is the philosophy rule, and it sits at the foundation of every financial decision you will ever make, including but not limited to what you drive. The question is not what car you can afford. The question is what kind of financial life you are trying to reach, and whether the car you are considering is consistent with that life or in conflict with it. Most people approach major purchases in the wrong order. They see a car, they feel a desire for it, they check whether the monthly payment fits into their current budget, and if the answer is approximately yes, they sign the papers and call it a responsible decision. What they never do is start from the destination, from the specific financial life they are trying to reach, and work backward to determine what that destination requires them to say no to today. If your goal is to retire at 55 with $2 million in investment assets, that is a specific mathematical target that requires a specific monthly savings rate, and that rate almost certainly cannot coexist with a $700 car payment. If your goal is to leave your corporate job in 8 years and build something of your own, that transition requires capital, and capital cannot be built while it is being consumed by interest payments on a machine that loses 11% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. Research from the Millionaire Next Door study, which tracked the actual financial habits of high net worth individuals across decades, found that the median millionaire drives a 3-year-old domestic vehicle and has never paid more than $35,000 for a car at any single purchase. The people who look the wealthiest are, on average, among the least wealthy, and the people who are genuinely building significant net worth are making vehicle decisions that most of their neighbors consider too modest. The vehicle you choose is not a reflection of where you are, it is a statement about where you are going and how seriously you are committed to getting there. This week, you need to sit down with your last 3 months of bank statements and calculate the true total cost of your current vehicle situation, and the number you arrive at is going to be more uncomfortable than you expect.
Add your monthly loan payment, your monthly insurance premium, your average monthly fuel cost, and any average monthly maintenance expenses. Write that total on a piece of paper and sit with it for a full 24 hours before doing anything else, because most people who do this exercise for the first time discover they are spending between $900 and $1,400 a month on a single asset that is losing value every day. And that awareness alone begins to change how you think about the next decision. This month, you need to research the current market value of your existing vehicle and the current outstanding balance on your loan, and determine whether you are above water or underwater on your financing. If you owe $28,000 and your car is worth $24,000, you are $4,000 underwater, a fact that most car owners in America do not know about their own vehicles. Understanding your actual equity position is not optional information. It is the starting point for every decision that follows, and getting clear on this number is the single most important financial action you can take in the next 30 days, because it converts a vague anxiety about car debt into a specific, actionable problem with a visible solution. This quarter, you need to model 2 financial scenarios side by side in a simple spreadsheet, and the comparison will be one of the most clarifying exercises you will do this year. Scenario A is your current path. You keep your current vehicle, continue your current payments, and track where your money goes over the next 3 years. Scenario B is your alternative. You downgrade to a reliable used vehicle costing $12,000 to $15,000, eliminate or dramatically reduce your car payment, automate the difference into an index fund, and track where that money goes over the same 3 years. The difference in net worth between these 2 scenarios at the 36-month mark is typically between $18,000 and $32,000, and seeing that number in a concrete model changes the emotional weight of the decision in a way that abstract advice never does. This year, you need to define in writing the specific financial target that your vehicle decisions are in service of, and that statement needs to include a dollar amount, a time horizon, and the reason it matters to your actual life. I want to invest $1,500 a month by January of next year so that I can retire at 57 with enough to never depend on a paycheck again, is a target that gives every financial decision a frame of reference. I want to save more money is a wish. When you have a specific target with a specific deadline connected to a specific reason, the conversation about whether you can afford a $700 car payment becomes very simple, because the answer is already embedded in the math of getting where you are going. Go back to that dealership for a moment. You are sitting across from the salesperson, and they have just slid that paper across the desk showing $489 a month. You now understand exactly what you are looking at. That number is not just a car payment, it's $489 a month for 72 months, which is $35,208 in payments plus $10,000 in interest, all directed toward an asset that will be worth approximately $14,000 by the time the loan is paid off. You are paying $45,000 for something worth $14,000, and simultaneously you are choosing not to put $489 a month into a compound growth vehicle that would be worth $358,000 30 years from now. That's the full picture of what the paper on the desk actually says, and you can now read it clearly. Here's the choice you are actually making. If you absorb the concepts in this video and apply them, you enter a virtuous cycle. You choose a modest vehicle, you free up capital, you invest that capital, the investment grows, your financial confidence increases, and you make increasingly better decisions from a position of security rather than stress. Each good decision makes the next good decision easier because you are building evidence that the approach works, and you are building the financial cushion that gives you room to operate. If you do not, if you return to the dealership next week and sign the same kind of paper for the same kind of vehicle, you enter the destructive cycle. You commit to a large fixed expense, your financial flexibility decreases, your stress increases, you become less able to absorb unexpected costs, your emergency savings stay thin, and when the next financial challenge arrives, you face it from a weaker position than the one before. Each constraint makes the next constraint harder to escape. The Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances found that households carrying vehicle loans have a median net worth 43% lower than otherwise comparable households with no vehicle debt. This is not a fringe finding, it's a pattern that appears consistently across income levels, education levels, and geographic regions. The car payment is not a neutral financial choice. The data says it's one of the most reliably wealth-limiting habits in the American consumer economy. Your car should take you places, to work, to people you love, to opportunities that matter. But the payment on that car should not be the thing that decides whether you ever reach financial freedom, whether you ever take the career risk you've been thinking about, or whether you ever arrive at a place in your life where money is a tool rather than a pressure. The question worth sitting with tonight is not what car you want to drive. The question is what life you are trying to build, and whether the thing sitting in your driveway is helping you get there or quietly making sure that you never do.